everybody? Welcome to the final day of the Mayhem Winter Classic. I'm Lemon Kiwi. By my side is Hurix, and we'll be concluding today's tournament, but for a wonderful cause. Put exclamation point gift in the chat. This is to support the gift of life for a mission to cure patients with blood cancer illnesses, and it's super easy to register.
Yeah, super easy. Easy enough that actually you got through the registration process and got through it and everything too. So that's how you know it's super easy. So if she can do it, anybody can do it. I promise you. And you should do it because it is truly for a great cause. Another great cause, T2 esports. And I mean, Mayhem came through. They were talking to us about this a little bit and, you know, organizing this. And we were so excited to jump in. Glad that the day's finally come here as well. Mayhem Winter Classic for 2020. And honestly, I can't be more excited about a tournament because you're talking about a pretty nice prize pool, $7,500 total prize pool just for this one weekend that we have here today. We've got $4,500 going directly to first place, $2,250 for second place, and $750 for third place as well. So a lot of opportunities to grab some cash here today.
And we're jumping right into the first map. This is a best of 5, and to remind everyone, we are going with Old Man Strength versus Second Wind. This is in the losers part of the bracket. We're in the quarterfinals of the losers, and then on the other side, off stream, we have Skyfoxes and Simplicity that will be facing off, and we will be following the result of this match to face the winners of Skyfoxes and Simplicity.
Yeah, so already definitely some teams lying in wait, waiting for the results of not just this match, but the match to follow this one as well. And we'll have to see how things pan out for the 4 teams still competing to get to one of those final match slots. But as we look to jump into Busan, it should be noted that if you guys are at all curious what maps are going to be playing out today, you can type exclamation point maps in the chat right now in Twitch, and that will give you a full map pool, a full breakdown of not only the order of maps, but also which maps are in the pool for each specific type of map. So definitely a lot of information out there if you are looking to seek it out.
Well, the narrative are really between Old Man Strength and Second Wind is that Second Wind, the quick summary here is Second Wind is full of contenders players, and Old Man Strength is this tier 3 team that's been under the radar until Practice Open Division happened. They won it, and now they're coming out of the gates swinging and contending against strong teams like this.
Yeah, they really have come out swinging. I can't think of a better phrasing at all, because we're talking about a team that came out of Practice Vision, has been able to compete with some of the best, and has shown out with a very different type of composition too. They're always incorporating Yeatle on this ham, and unfortunately for them, they're going to need Yeatle to make sure that he presses all the way into that back line to put some pressure onto Dalton, or he's going to keep finding some of these heads.
An important res, and also you have Yeatle distracting. He's not going to last too long, and even surprising that he got bursted down almost immediately. You know, we saw how much Yeatle was hindered in previous tournaments against Maze, against Hanzos, and things like that, but now it's double sniper, and this is where I think Yeatle will thrive, and it's working out so well for Old Man Strength at the moment.
Yeah, so far you can already see Old Man Strength just getting slightly ahead at the moment, and that's going to allow them to get that first capture. Again, despite the fact that Yeatle goes down there, he's able to get back into the fray very quickly, has that quick rotation speed in that ball form, so he can get back into position, and in the meantime, the rest of his team can do the work that needs to get done. And you can already see some adjustments being made here as well. Dalton is now going over to the McCree. This was a very good answer that Yo Yes pulled out, actually, against Old Man Strength the last time that we saw Old Man Strength in Breaking Barriers #1.
Chinese food being a new addition to the Old Man Strength roster, filling the shoes of Dimes, and so far doing just that. Of course, he did get picked by the snipers, but not going to be as much of an issue. Now his target is going to be Dalton, but Hazard on an angle finding Caden so big. Now nothing is stopping Yeatle. He can have more freedom into the backline. Chinese food is up into the air. He even got nano boosted, and this is so much damage that Second One has to deal with, and Old Man Strength have such a strong start going for them now.
Yeah, being in control for OMS right now is just everything, because it's really denying the ability for Dalton and Caden to press up and really put that hurt onto Yeatle. I mean, Yeatle right now can just kind of go in and go out. He doesn't need to make room because OMS have already afforded it for themselves. They have control of the point, and they're in a great position to play off of Chinese food and Hazard just poking damage out constantly.
Dalton is getting closer to the Deadeye, so if Chinese Food doesn't pick him off right away, he does find Ultraviolet, which is so big. No Ant Matrix, and the Immortality Field won't be into effect until, and this is getting until the final parts of this round, as Old Man Strength start with the Bongo Supercharger, ward second wind off, but they don't have a lot of time to waste.
Yeah, and they're going to get knocked up into mines from Yeetle, and that's going to go right into a barrage from Chinese Food as well. Old Man Strength have two of the best possible things that they could possibly use in conjunction with one another for this next fight.
Oh, he's going to use the mines to secure that left side, so the supports are going to have a hard time following up. At least with a BAP and an Ana, you can heal at a distance. Even the Ant Matrix is going to assist with that. Supercharger going away for second wind. Early's not great. Chinese Food Nano Barrage on top of the tanks of second wind. Annihilated. Yilo rejoins the fray, and 99% for Old Man Strength. And it's just lights out and good night. Second wind. We'll have to hope for round 2.
That's a combination that we've seen time and time again from Old Man Strength, particularly on control-based rounds, where Yeetle loves to dive in, get aggressive. If he has mines, he uses them, goes into the knock-up, and sets up for the barrage. We didn't see the instant follow-up there that we normally see between Yeetle and his Pharah player, but it should be noted that Chinese Food is kind of newer to this team. We did see Dimes on this roster, even Buck on this roster as well recently. Beyond that, and I think far more importantly, is that they didn't necessarily need to use there. We saw them actually hold on to the fact that Yeetle created this separation where their supports were lined off away from the main tanks, and we saw them follow up later. So that was actually really good for Old Man Strength. And again, showing off what they're capable of with this particular composition and the prowess that Yeetle has on Hammond.
Second wind, locking the McCree and the May right off the bat. I think this will be better to use defensively against Yeetle, who's going to be more comfortable on that Hammond. Now, Old Man Strength are going to support at a distance, and Cedro, a new addition to Old Man Strength, has to hold his ground, being the only tank to really protect himself, as Yeetle's more of a setup type of hero.
Yeah, Yeetle has to get in there and make sure that Old Man Strength have the angles that they need to work with, but Chinese Food gets ripped out of the sky already. Great start there for their opposition.
Such a good positioning from second wind to take shelter in that building. Made it so hard for Old Man Strength to find any angles to get damage in there, and then immediately bursted out and got that pick. Resurrected, second wind on the point, claim it immediately. They're healed up, hazards on an angle, which will force shields from the Sigma at different angles, maybe weakening the front line slightly, but second wind are covering ground, and their movement around the map is so fluid, Old Man Strength will not get that objective first.
You can see second wind playing as 6. There's no separation at all with the main core of this team at the moment. Positionally, you can see them playing off of Dalton, trying to insulate their McCree player, keep him safe so that he can set up these stun plays, lock down into the rock from Higan as well, so that they can push Yeetle out of these fights and create a 6v5 advantage every single time he comes in.
And defensively, you got the Ant Matrix. This is a lot of damage in the biggest part of the map. So Old Man Strength were already funneling through the middle of the map. They're going to take shelter on that sort of metro left side. Taking care of the Immortality is a good start. Chinese Food above them. This is bad. You got a barrage about to be online. Second wind need to rely on Dalton to take care of this. And a stun. How is Chinese Food alive? Is he able to concuss himself back into safety? And Old Man Strength surrounding the point. Now you got a barrage. He drops it down onto the tanks. Great reaction from Dalton, but the damage is done. Dalton with 2 makes it, gives his team a chance. And now Old Man Strength thought they had this. It's 3 versus 3 here, Ix.
Yeah, we're going to see second wind try to use this high ground superiority to their advantage as long as they can keep Ultraviolet alive, but he's under duress at the moment. You can see him trying to get away from Yeetle, and Yeetle's hunted.
This is such a risky spot for Ultraviolet to play in with a Hammond that can bowl you off. And as the BAF, you have so much utility that's so important. The Immortality Field and all the healing that you provide alongside a Lucio. So not able to get that environmental kill, but you can see Yeetle is trying to access those supports. Not successful yet, but second win, one more fight to send us into round 3.
The line to start the fight and already getting yoinked back in, already answered as well by the Soundbearer. Second wind blowing everything that they have in their pockets at the moment.
Deadeye to zone it. He almost unleashed it onto Chinese Food earlier on. Didn't think he'd get that finish. Kaden with the Blizzard gets right after the supports. Immortality Field's not going to save Kaden's team, but Cedro by himself, behind the shield, buying his team time, but he's gone with the Gravitic Flux on the other side, was finishing off the reinforcements. And what a turning the tables that second wind just did. losing that first round and taking it back just as well here.
Yeah, critical play there from Kaden as well. I mean, Higan worked so well and just deleting basically the core of Old Man's strength. But then on beyond that, we saw a great play from Kaden, just working off to the side and actually canceling out Madero. So there wasn't really that much effective healing that could go out onto the tanks, Cedro and Yeatle. And that's where you saw Old Man's strength crumble in that final fight. But overall, still really, really good job there from Second Wind to turn things back around. Now they just have to maintain here, and I have to imagine that they're going to go with that same strategy that's been working out for them so far, which is keeping Kaden on the Mei and keeping Dalton on the McCree, because so far that has been a very good answer for Yeatle, and I can't imagine they're going to expect what's coming at them with this Orisa and Ryan composition.
And having that Lucia is going to be important. This Old Man Strength have played this before, but usually with their other main tank, Mac. And I was wondering how much versatility this new tank line is going to have. And you can see Cedro's playstyle is so much more different. He's already being aggressive, swinging his hammer away, giving more ult charge to his supports. And look how much they're just stuffing Second Wind back into their spawn. There is a wall from Kaden that was pretty big, but Hazard, unfrozen and untouched, will finish off that fight.
Old Man's strength's composition here is just going to be so solid in these close quarter brawls, and given what we saw them trying to do with their Mei walls, just basically allowing them to close distance, and they're going to continue to try to do that, especially now that they're in full control. They can just basically try to control all of these choke points that you could see Second Wind entering from. And it's really going to rely on Dalton to make sure that they have Dragon Strike available and certain things available so that they can actually grant themselves access of being able to get out of these choke points.
The Dragon Strike is going to be big here. See what patience Dalton has. As Old Man's Strength also have a Shatter coming online soon. This will be the one I'm worried about. Madero responds with the Immortality Field. That's fine. Second Wind's still stuck, and they use their own Immortality Field as Old Man's Strength with the Ant Matrix will have a little bit more damage as Ultraviolet can't get the angle he wants with his own. And as Shatter gets blocked, great response. A Second Wind now hit with a Blizzard as Old Man Strength funnel in and deal with the kills. 50% plus. They live again.
Yeah, great block onto Cedro's Earth Shatter, but unfortunately for them, the Blizzard came right after. So, I mean, obviously an investment with the Blizzard, but I mean, still, that's going to get the job done, and they're also just jockeying for control for so long that it's already at 65%. There's only been 2 fights here, Lemon. There's only been 2, and already you can see that Yeatle's going to be dropping that supercharger for sure.
Great wall isolation from Kaden. He has a Blizzard of his own, and there's no barrier to stop him as Old Man's Strength, their health pool starting to dwindle. But still, the supercharger from Yeatle allowed them to just respond that much better, to get the first entry picks into that fight. So despite only having 3 members, Old Man's Strength can stall us to 90%, play the slow, and Second Wind gotta hurry back.
Yeah, Second Wind, they died fast enough at least that there's the silver lining that they can get back into the fight and contest, and they should have a slight advantage if they can deal with Hazard's Death Blossom.
One last chance. Hazard is in your backline, and he has Death Blossom. He's going after your supports, and the Bongo gone down first. Second Wind down but not out. They're down by 2. Ooh. Can they respond? But Shredlock is going to eat that one. He's going to wish he had more supports. He has the damage, but not enough teammates to keep this fight going. That candle of overtime is going to dwindle away, and Cedro says goodbye. And Old Man's Strength destined to take this first map against a contenders roster of Second Wind.
And this is a roster coming into this tournament where Second Wind was expected to do quite well, and I think this really speaks volumes to Old Man's Strength having that kind of experience playing together. Second Wind, yeah, a lot of these players have played together for a while. I mean, coming back from Second Wind rosters, playing together and breaking barriers tournaments as well, but a lot of these pieces are also new. I mean, Dalton, Rolf, and Ultraviolet are all very much new to this team. So Second Wind has got to build out some of that experience and that synergy, that cohesion that you need in a team, especially in a meta like this, very, very rapidly, or they're going to very quickly see themselves out of this tournament.
It also shows that the addition of Seadro did in fact add versatility to this tank line. So not only did Seadro do well on the Orisa, of course, in the second round, unfortunately they dropped that, but I think we saw something a little bit new from them. Rather not the heroes themselves of the Rhine and the Orisa, but the way that they played it. The fact that they just used that Lucio speed boost to just run over second win in that first fight. They were able to play defensively, which is so important on a round like Mecha Base.
Yeah, and it's so important on a composition where you need to be in melee range to have effect, where you can literally just press up and hold a choke point, and every fight that you take is compositionally at least favorable. So that's a really smart composition to run. We actually see the Reinhardt Orisa being run for the past about month and a half, 2 months even, to some degree, where we first started seeing Orisa coming back into the meta post the GOATS meta. That this has been something that has been run. Certainly it's been emboldened by the fact that we've also seen, you know, May and Reaper coming back into the fray, where all of those are empowering this tank line as well. But, you know, all these things, they play a role, and that role is getting OMS that first map win, and now they have an advantage against a very prolific second wind roster. For them, there was nothing else left after that point, and Old Man Strength can take full control. And that's again where I would like to see Second Wind kind of adapting in the moment, and that just comes down to cohesion, experience playing with each other, and that will come with time, hopefully sooner for them rather than later.
A lot of eyes are set on both these teams. Old Man Strength, you know, this new breaking out tier 3 roster that not only won Practice Open Division, they got second in the first Breaking Barriers tournament out of the hundreds of teams that were in there, winning the Not for Normies Invitational number 5. Lots of accolades to their name, despite a lot of these players not having tier 2 experience. They are winning games, or at least being really strong against teams that have much more experience than them. And then Second Wind, to hype up their roster, Contenders players split from Gladiators Legion to other Contenders teams.
Yeah, I mean, this has been kind of an amalgamation, right? I mean, this has basically been where we see different pieces of Second Wind. I mean, you see over the last couple of weeks where we've seen these Breaking Barriers tournaments, this has been a really great insight into kind of the development of some of these rosters. I mean, we did see Sky Foxes as Yo Yes. We did see Revival as tier 3 subs, I think they were called. And then we did kind of, in effect, see Second Wind, or at least a version of, in both Passion Patriots and Tragedy of Izar, where we did see 3 of these members come from. But yeah, this addition of the double Gladiators Legion players, Dalton and Rolf, very, again, highly touted players, very well respected in this community and at this level even more so. But Ultraviolet is certainly a really great addition to this team as well. So once again, it's Second Wind, a roster that everybody's going to be high on going into this, but I can't speak more on just the value of having that experience playing together, which again, obviously this is a little bit newer of a roster. These players, Dalton, Rolf, and Ultraviolet, are new to this team. So half of the team being kind of new together, it's going to take some time to develop.
New map, new year, new me. And of course, defensively, you know,
let's be honest, same you.
You know, same me. Still woke up late today, but it's okay. Old Man Strength are here to party.
Same.
And with some interesting heroes, it looks like Hazard isn't feeling the Genji yet, but Chinese food again on the farm.
No one's feeling the Genji, dog. Nobody's feeling the Genji. Especially with the Pharah, no way nobody's feeling that Genji. But Chinese food, he's going to be coming out on this Pharah. This shouldn't be a surprise given here that we're going to be seeing this particular team on defense. I mean, we have seen quite a lot in the past with Old Man Strength playing this particular composition, even on this map, actually, especially on this map. Usually it's Dimes, but obviously with Dimes not on this roster, Chinese food basically just going to take up that role for him. So this is just a plug and play, assimilate a new player into what is already a working system.
An important substitution is Veg coming in instead of Yeedle. So maybe going for the double shield. They know how important those shields are in this first section of the map. You can see Higan already contesting Veg, who's not giving up his high ground. Higan kind of losing that 1v1, so he's going to drop down to safety. But that cart is pushing merrily away, and Old Man Strike now have to adapt their defensive position slowly but surely.
Now we're going to be seeing Second Wind just trying to play that low ground, just try to get control once again. They did lose Kaden. They lost their Mei. That's going to lose them the utility of the wall cooldown, the ability to freeze and lock down their enemy tank line, and that's a lot to lose out on. So they really want Kaden back into the fray. In the meantime, Old Man Strength just allowing this to happen, and I think they're happy with this as long as they can get away from those rocks to come in from Cedro and Veg and allow Chinese food to just build up that barrage and get that ready to go in this next fight.
Yeah, I think a big opener, you said exactly right. The halt and the accretion, or even a halt and then Hazard following up on the, Dalton following up on the Widowmaker. But so far, the defense is holding strong, losing that first shield. Antal being punished on the res. No, it's not going so hot. Second Wind getting back on the card as long as they keep Shredlock alive. Mortality Field will be available in a second, and that's not going to happen either. I'm jinxing everything.
It's like as soon as you said alive, my man went from 100 to 0 real quick. Turned a corner and fell over. But in the meantime, Old Man Strength, at the moment, they're just biding their time, trying to get their tanks back into position. They're finally contesting the cart now, and you can see Hazard with a great angle to play off of at the moment.
Chinese food had an angle, but now it's the defense. Gravitic Flux was used earlier. Chinese food back into the fray. Great Resurrect, Second Win. Only have 3 up, and they're getting halted back into the action. And they don't want to be there. Now they've completely surrounded the fortress that Second Wind are trying to stay alive in, but now they're getting staggered. There's not a ton of time left either.
Now you can see Old Man Strength pulling back, getting everybody back into position here defensively. And like you said, I mean, there's only a minute and a half left at the moment. And now you can see these two corners need to be rounded. Positions need to be taken once again on high ground if they are wanting to be taken. At least a silver lining here. Dalton's going to win out that sniper duel, just spamming out Hazard, finds the dome, and now they can press forward.
At least Old Man Strength, they have the Resurrect, so they always have that first pick forgiveness. With Second Win, following up on that first pick, but have to be wary of Chinese Food's barrage, who's just looming over the building they were just hiding in. As Second Win, looking to set up their Blizzard, controlling the high ground, making sure nobody's up there. But now just getting presence back on the card is what's important. Losing Rofu at Transcendence, Ultraviolet forced to use Immortality early, and now it's go time. Supercharger, these are the picks. This is all the damage Second Win needs to finally start overtaking Old Man Strength.
Second Wind are taking over. They're to that high ground, trying to get control and battling it out for that position at the moment while they push that cart forward.
So now you can see Second Win using that Maywall to get onto the high ground instead of going the long way. But Old Man Strength losing Hazard early. There is no pressure. Dalton has a lot more freedom. He's going to use that Dragon Strike to try and dislodge Old Man Strength from that high ground. As Old Man Strength using that Immortality field, keeping themselves nice and topped up. They're just trying to stabilize here, but Second Win are gaining a lot of good positioning on them.
Yeah, you can see that cart has progressed quite a ways. It's already underneath the staircase here, Lemon, and finally a defensive hold coming out as we do see the trade coming through as Hazard finds that first pick, and now you can see the defense commanding.
the iris.
Although, of course, we have to make sure we mention the fact that Antol is still on the Mercy here, so any one-way pick could get res back up if it's in a safe position to do so.
But at least Second Wind didn't invest the Blizzard when they lost Higan early. So now with their full 6, you supercharge them. They're going to hope this extra damage gets them that first pick. And now that they funneled Old Man Strength into this corner, there's the Blizzard unleashed. The Immortality Field instantly burst it down. Second Wind have surrounded them. Chinese Food goes for a heroic play to counter it with the barrage. But nonetheless, Second Wind pushed the point B.
Yeah, you can almost see this basically washing away all of the ultimate economy, and you can see Second Wind coming out slightly ahead because of that, because they do have a couple of ults that are coming up shortly, where after capping a point, it's the same situation as before. Shredlock, Kaden, they use their ultimates, but everything else is coming up for them so that they can create momentum here. And this is such an important stage of the map to create momentum on, because you need to push through a very, very tight choke point, and if you have advantage, that certainly makes that a lot easier.
And Higan is just poking at different angles to just get a few more percentage points to get that gravitic flux. This could be a big opportunity starter for his team getting on this. 1 minute left, and there's the most important pick. No Immortality Field. Dalton launches that Dragon Strike to the left side. It still catches some of the tanks. Now Second Wind just can merely push this payload forward. Maywall separates even that Orisa player from the rest, and Second Wind have just leveled up and finished with 44 seconds.
Yeah, and that's clinical there as well, maintaining that momentum from that point B cap all the way through. They didn't even take a fight until they got to the choke point that's so difficult to get through. So they had all 4 of those ultimates coming up, and they were able to use them efficiently to make sure that they could break through and gain the advantage moving into that open section, or I guess slightly open section, towards the end of the map, nearing the final checkpoint. And they got it all the way through. They have a little bit of time to spare as well that could be potentially added on should this go to another round of attacks on their initial time bank. So now we'll see if they can do something here on defense, slow down the approach of Old Man Strength. But I think so far Old Man Strength's prowess has been kind of when they're in control, when they're setting the pace for these engagements. And that's why I'm more curious about Old Man Strength on their attack. You know, are they going to show off some of that aggression? Obviously, they don't have Yeatle in the mix, so the Hammond isn't likely to come out. But I think some of that is still going to carry over with Veg in this roster and playing that double shield, because we do see some of those same pieces like the Pharah from Chinese Food.
I think Old Man Strength, their real strength has been the high ceilings of point A and point B, where Chinese Food will be the strongest. And Second Wind, not really relying on their own Pharah players. So defensively, you're not going to have that Pharah v Pharah, and their hit scan, that's when Dalton has to be on his best behavior. He has to be the one that keeps Chinese Food in check, and we saw that just wasn't the case on point A. Why it took several minutes to do that, but on the end of point C, I think Second Wind really came together, and now on a defense, it's gonna be a little bit easier for them. They have a roof over their head, and Chinese Food might have a harder time getting a pick.
Yeah, you're going to be seeing Old Man Strength. They're definitely not going to be as quickly paced as we're used to seeing them, especially on control-based maps, where, you know, of course, right now, they just simply don't have the Lucio to press forward and really force a lot of these engagements. They really want to play slow, put out some pressure with Chinese Food on this Pharah, try to gain those angles with sheer pressure, with those rockets dishing out damage, Hazard throwing in some arrows as well to supplement that. And if Second Wind get caught in a corner, that's when you'll see that advantage being taken. That's when you'll see them press forward.
Speaking of getting caught, Dalton just almost got that pick. I'm not seeing Higan really angle his shields towards Chinese Food. This tells me that they either don't see him as a threat, or they have a lot of confidence in someone like Dalton, and how do you not? This guy is picking off domes, and he keeps poking that right side where Old Man Strength have to decide if they have to use Veg's shield to just cover Dalton, or do they want to strengthen and win the shield war on the front?
Yeah, we're going to see Second Wind just holding this corner down so easily here, and they're soon going to have their amplification matrix as well from Ultraviolet if they need it to try to turn this fight back around.
Oh, this is so bad for Old Man Strength. They're just completely surrounded again. And this will be easy cleanups for second win. The cart is pushing forward, so at least second will be able to rotate back, but it's kind of, places are swapped a little bit.
Yeah, we do see Kaden and Higan as well as Shredlock all kind of low, so they have to kind of wait out a little bit before they do push out, but they will eventually take control here as they also have Rolf coming back from spawn as well.
Dalton's back, and you know when he's back is he's in the kill feed, killing everybody. But second win, taking a lot of time away, really equalizing the same defense Old Man Strength came up with. But now your eye also has to be on Chinese food. Barrage, that is scary. Second win, have to have Higan. Keep an eye on him. Dalton is going to try and act first, pull the trigger with this Dragon Strike, and hope Madero either gets picked off first or the Immortality Field is dealt with so that the Dragon Strike can have maximum effect.
Yeah, my eye is on Ultraviolet and Madero here. Immortality Field superiority is going to basically win this fight here. Whatever ultimate gets shut down is going to be the importance. I mean, just winning this fight is going to come down to that one cooldown on either side.
Yeah, I love that Dragon Strike from the Hazard. It secures the escape route that second win had. And there is a barrage raining down onto second win. It's a 1-for-1 trade as the Blizzard secures the cart here for second win. As Old Man Strength still think it's winnable. The Supercharger's invested. Only the tanks are benefiting from it. And you can see second win, again, cornering the last remaining members of Old Man Strength. And in the last minute or so, Old Man Strength have one last chance.
And you gotta love some of these angles being taken by Ultraviolet as well on this Baptiste, where he's taking these kind of off angles and being very, very aggressive in these situations. And now you're gonna see Dalton still having the ability to pop out this Dragon Strike Supercharger, still ready to go for Shredlock. So second win defensively with a massive advantage defensively here that they can play off of.
Dalton, Dragon Strike, the same recipe, Dragon Strike plus Immortality, and that's the question mark. How is that Immortality gonna fare? And they use it actually quite early just to make sure they don't get picked off. It is well hidden, so getting the little bit of damage here on the high ground, but now Dalton knows that's a free Dragon Strike. He's looking to either isolate the tanks away or make sure they're funneled in, and the Dragon Strike right in the escape route as Cedro was trying to join his supports, and that's easy. 2 picks. Secures the fight. 11 seconds left. They can't retreat now.
Yeah, and that kind of rotation is always going to be a gamble, especially against a player like Dalton that can see that coming and shut it all the way down. And that's exactly what they're looking to do here on this attack.
Overtime going away, and second win. What a turnaround. Losing Busan to Old Man Strength, the chaos of control maps, but then you go onto a map where it's defensively favored. You gotta come in with a strategy, and this is where now the experience of contenders players like Dalton are gonna read you like a book. They're gonna know how you react, and this has been a Dalton map.
Yeah, absolutely. Dalton has definitely shown up in this matchup. We also saw some good moments there as well from the support line, specifically Ultraviolet and Rolf working really well. And if we can sit here and say Old Man Strength, their advantage is the fact that they do have some of that synergy from playing together over the last couple months now. I think veteranship is something that you're going to be seeing as, you know, an advantage for second win. Again, they have players that have certainly, you know, Shredlock, Kaluj now, and Kaden have played together for a while, but you're bringing in players like Dalton and Rolf who have been around for quite some time and have a lot of really solid experience playing in a vast multitude of different metas and know how to adapt to situations on the fly. And that right there is exactly what we saw from Dalton with his Dragon Strike.
And if you guys, we're at the halfway point. It is a tie game, so it's already starting to be a spicy day. But if you're enjoying what Mayhem is bringing, exclamation point Mayhem, they have watch parties for the Owl Games and other community tournaments. So it's a great group of people that are not only hosting this tournament, shout out to Thibbledork and everyone who organized this, but they have also cool community things, not just supporting the Florida Mayhem, but supporting the Tier 2 community as a whole. So make sure you put exclamation point Mayhem, and of course, exclamation point gift, which is the whole reason we're here, Gift for Life, to find bone marrow donors. Welcome back, everybody. We have the second half of our losers bracket match of second win versus Old Man Strength. It is a tie game, and we're going to Eichenwalde.
Yeah, really excited for this one. It's a tie matchup, and this is something that, witnessing Old Man Strength in the past, this might be something that you're used to seeing, where you do see, the control maps pretty heavily go in favor of Old Man Strength. I mean, they pull out that composition with Yeatle on the Hammond, and they had some success there, despite, some roster adjustments. It seems like that has carried over into this full 6-man that they now are utilizing here with Chinese food incorporated, with Antle incorporated as well. So a lot of new pieces, but still kind of the same old with Old Man Strength. And now they move on to a map of their choice, having just lost a map of their opposition, Second Wind's choice. And they move over to Eichenwalde. This is a map that Old Man Strength loves to pull out that Hammond again on. And it looks like Yeatle is back in the mix. So that is definitely going to be the case here.
That is interesting that you bring up that Rialto was Second Wind's choice, and to not only fully push, but to then fully hold Old Man Strength really shows that Second Wind know their strengths. Now, can they deal with the strength of Old Man Strength? That was a lot of words, but we're here on Eichenwalde, and Second Wind will be on the defense first. Old Man Strength will be forced to attack first.
Yeah, and this is where I think we're going to really kind of set the tone of what this map is going to look like, because it's clear that Yeatle being brought back into the mix means that certainly for attack at minimum, but even certain sections of their defense, we will be seeing Yeatle on the Hammond. And this is, again, if we can see it here on the attack, we'll certainly have a good idea of how it's going to work defensively, especially on, that second point where Yeatle has been known to actually play it defensively as well. But pretty much throughout first and second here on the attack is where we'll be seeing Yeatle on it instead. And it's just going to come down to how Second Wind wants to answer this, because clearly this can pose a threat to teams, given how we've seen Old Man Strength perform in the past. And teams typically have had to adapt their composition to deal with it. Now, though, it looks like there isn't an adaptation compositionally here. Instead, Kaden going to be out onto this Pharah, which I like this pick, and the Hanzo as well. So a lot of pressure onto Seadro now.
Yeatle's off on an adventure. Going on an adventure, Hobbit style, but he's clearly going into the back line, waiting to just bowl over into enemy lines. But was his team really ready? You can see they're still at the choke point. Seadra had just placed his shield. Now he has to readjust. So slowly but surely, they'll be creeping up, now deciding either the left or right. And Chinese food will finally have an opposition on the far roll against Kaden.
Yeah, Chinese food here needs to put pressure onto Shredlock, as well as Dalton especially, to make sure that Seadro can press forward and gain ground for his team. And you can see him aggressively positioned already, just trying to deny sight lines so that he can freely pressure those two targets that he's looking for.
Shredlock is playing so far back that it's quite a distance for the rest of Second Wind to fall back into the half that safe position. At least they have Kaden pressuring the skies, but Hazard keeps finding these angles. There on the left, you can see Second Wind are going to have to worry about this. The Resurrect comes through, could be picking off more. Shredlock is there to peel for his supports, and Hazard found by himself as the rest of Old Man Strength have reset.
Yeah, you can see them pulling all the way back, having, unfortunately for them, not even gained a single tick here, despite moving almost all the way up into position where they could start vying for control. And now they do have to start dealing with some of these answers. Kaden set up, having the barrage at the ready, well ahead of Chinese food, but certainly that's a big pick for them to start with.
This is good amplification matrix. He's gonna pick off one now without a mercy. Chinese food at least will, of course, thank Madero for the nano. He's in the back line. Ultraviolet trying to win the 1v1, but too strong. Old Man Strength overpowering the defense. The Second Win. It's up to Higan. Not much longer as Old Man Strength will claim their first take here. Seeing rockets from the sky from Caitlyn, but I don't see a recontest coming.
Yeah, we talked about two very important things in the past as well, Lemon. Chinese food, of course, looking for those two specific targets in Dalton and Shredlock to allow Seadro to press forward freely. And the other thing being that this composition with the Hammond is all about setup. Yeatle trying to go for another setup there as well and getting shut down, but luckily for them, the time prior worked out very well in their favor, getting that 6v5. And now Old Man Strength needs to push through a choke point. So it's all about, again, that setup that's going to come out from Chinese food and Yeatle to open things up.
Yeatle found again, and these have been some pretty solid accretions from Higan. I didn't spot if there's a barrage just out of nowhere. Even I didn't expect it. The 3-for-1, you will take those. And even though, well, they're getting a few meters out of it, just breaking out of those castle doors is so important for the offense.
Yeah, when you get those trades where you go 3 for 1, of course, Yeatle can get back very quickly as well. That's what is going to allow you to break through those choke points, and now you have precedence to start holding a choke point of your own. And this is where things dynamically shift. Hazard can get advantage over Dalton in this Hanzo 1v1.
Hazard uses the Dragon Strike and couldn't find the angle against Dalton. It's still the 1v1 that matters the most. His old man's strength advancing closer and closer to point B. As Madero almost finding that pick, and now another nano given to their fire player. Doesn't even have the barrage, but just the direct rockets are so lethal. Now he's behind the tanks, wants to deal with the supercharger, and it's just good night. Old man strength will be able to get point B as second wind come out the gates with one last wave, but I'm not sure it'll be much of a roar.
They're trying to get barrage up quickly to move through that next fight with as well. That's why they invest Madero's nano boost in that last fight. They can also continue that momentum. And yeah, Rolf, he's gonna go down. Here's the unfortunate thing though. The point's already capped, buddy. So even though he's contesting while slept at the moment, he didn't really stop the cart for more than, what, a second and a half? So he's gonna be down, and they're gonna be without their mercy, and this is gonna be a 6v4 advantage to Old Man's strength.
And that's just the wrong call at the wrong time of, is it contestable or not? But it's okay. Amplification Matrix second win, but blown away by another barrage from Chinese Food Found. Again, communication has to be perfect with second win. You saw the call for Wolf wasn't the right one. Not calling out Chinese Food and where he was. The second one, 3 minutes and 17 is a huge time bank on a map like this. Still, so far so good as Old Man Strength take different angles, playing this a little bit slower, and second win now have the advantage with spawns.
You can see Old Man Strength making some swaps though, so now that those swaps have come back from respawn, it's the go signal. Nano boost coming out, Eagle trying to make some space, but he gets frozen again.
They were not expecting this May to come out yet again as Old Man Strength deciding to use the nano onto Yeatle instead of the Far, who's at least completely safe, so not getting the value that they were looking for. But no Kaden means a very happy Yeatle. He's in the back harassing the Hanzo, but still have to worry about that supercharger. That is a game-winning ultimate right there, completely ignored, and second win overtake the fight easily.
Yeah, second win making a big hold there, and on top of that, also setting themselves up for success in the ensuing fights as well, where you can see a lot of potential combos coming out defensively, whereas you look across the other side of the field and simply nothing there. I mean, we're going to be very much in a building phase at the moment for Old Man Strength, and knowing the advantage here as well defensively with that respawn so close, not only are they going to have to build up that advantage, but they're going to have a hefty advantage at that to be able to secure this final checkpoint.
Dalton ready with the Dragon Strike. I mean, the second win lit up like a Christmas tree, and the Amplification Matrix is just the start as Old Man Strength waited out. But how they're going to funnel in, how this immortality is going to be used, as Dalton uses it a little bit behind them, so it secures a route of escape and even finds Hazard, who wasn't expecting it. The immortality not dropped in time, and Old Man Strength have to back out.
Yeah, that is just a good job there from second win to utilize the Dragon Strike as well as the window, knowing full well that the Amplification Matrix is going to come up so quickly, especially in an extended fight. You can already see Ultraviolet up at around 70% and pressed forward like this, where you can see them just poking out damage. He's going to get even closer, especially if they allow Shredlock and Hagon to just take a little bit of poke as they do rotate back. That Amp Matrix is going to come back up, and they could actually match 1-for-1 with Antal and delay this fight further. And especially now with the time bank going lower than a minute, every second counts.
The second one can just bunker up, wait for them to come onto the payload, and then use this Blizzard. This will be the winning condition for them. Old Man Strength, Amplification Matrix, they completely hide from it. Now the Blizzard on the field catches 2 and 3 as Cedro uses Fortify to protect his Hagon at least. But they were so far away from the rest of the team that they got isolated, they got bursted down. Now you're down to 25 seconds, and there's such a long route between the spawn doors and the payload.
Yeah, that right there was Immortality Field and Transcendence advantage. Now you lose Madero as well. You only have 15 seconds left with no Lucio, so Yeatle has to press forward and be the one to touch this payload. You have to win an extended fight because this cart is pushing on back closer to your spawn at this stage.
Few more seconds as Old Man Strength get ready, and Yeeted back into the spawn room. They were hoping he could touch to start that overtime wick, not getting there in time. And Madero getting staggered, just a nail in the coffin. They will not be able to complete the map, but still, this is progress from not even getting point A on Rialto that we just saw.
Yeah, you got to speak to just the value of winning that fight. That third to last fight was probably the most important fight of this match for Second Wind if they wind up coming out ahead here, because coming away from that fight with ultimates and with the optimal composition for the end of this map here as well, they were able to just keep Old Man Strength at a standstill where, you know, they could just really slow down that entirety of the building phase by just dropping amp matrices, using immortality fields really efficiently as well, and make sure that there was no advantage for OMS ever in those last 2 minutes or so that they had once they made those compositional swaps. So now you see the side swap here, and it should be no surprise that once again with these high ceilings we do in fact see those Pharahs coming back out. But I wonder now, given that we do see Yeetle on the Hammond here once again, certainly through first and second, I would have to imagine on defense, how are Second Wind going to be dealing with this? Because so far, they have used things like McCree, like May to deal with this, and we have seen that as well from them already on this map, but are they going to want to stick to that Pharah instead and have Dalton on something else, perhaps like a Hanzo, to just try to put out that pressure, force Yeetle back, and then just really focus on Seadro?
Well, Dalton on the Widow is something we've seen back on Rialto, and the Pharah v Pharah, I haven't seen huge amounts of Pharah 1v1, like huge finishes from either side. It's been more about the Hall Decretions, or even Ultraviolet we saw used amplification matrix to shut down Chinese food. So I'm still looking to see how Old Man Strength are gonna use this Hammond defensively as well. It's a little bit easier on the other side, but Second Wind getting a lot of free space.
Yeah, Second Wind already can back Chinese food off, and there's a big pick onto Yeetle as he gets yoinked back, and that's again that pressure that you get with Storm Arrows coming up. That's a lot of burst damage for Yeetle to try to accept at any given time.
Hayden has a really smart position here, using this center pillar, keep himself hidden, make sure the Pharah doesn't get too close, and all this damage is just peppering into Old Man Strength's shields. But losing your main shield provider of Shredlock, his gun is dangerously low. Second Wind are going to have to slow things down a bit.
Yeah, you can see Second Wind still kind of holding their position though. And given the fact that we do see that res come out from Antol, this is a little bit of a stabilization for Old Man Strength, but now Second Wind have the reinforcements. They're going to get back into position. They're going to look to round this corner here, and they have to find Yeetle early, or Yeetle will get into their backline and cause a lot of havoc for them as they press forward.
Now Ultraviolet, didn't drop the immortality in time, but the Amp Matrix was trying to also pressure Chinese food. At least Higon gets that huge accretion to take him out. As Old Man Strength are down in numbers, Antol's receiving pressure, trying to dodge these rockets as much as he can. As Second Wind have set up camp on the point. Now Old Man Strength, how do you turn this around? Their tanks are still alive. Antol's forced to use Valkyrie, one support down. This is going to be a tough fight for Old Man Strength to win.
Especially now that you can already see the control going over to the attacking side, but that's a big turn there. Chinese food getting a little bit of value. And we see the DPS now for Old Man Strength might have bought an opportunity here for their team.
Yeah, the amount of DPS ultimates and ultimates in general Old Man Strength had got them a good start of the retake, but not the finish they were looking for. And Second Wind not really having to invest much themselves besides just surrounding Old Man Strength, and now they're in a better position to take this first fight, breaking through out of castle.
An unfortunate circumstance as well that we did see Madero. I'm like 99% sure that they actually did have to use their nano boost to try to keep Antol alive, so a mercy boost there. Not going to find too much of a profound effect. Certainly not the value you're looking for with the nano boost typically, but overall, despite the fact that Second Wind did have quite a bit of ultimates to utilize here, we do see Old Man Strength stalling things out quite effectively by just sheer, left click pressure that we're getting primarily from players like Hazard and Chinese food. So they've taken a couple of picks and they've now stalled this cart in this choke point here going into second.
Yeah, my issue with both these offenses is that Old Man Strength are much more aggressive getting out of the castle doors. They just dumped all their ultimates in that first fight as Second Wind was setting back up. And now you see the opposite. Second Wind playing super passively, getting through these spawn doors. And they're kind of stuck, wasting a lot of time trying to push this cart. And even Old Man Strength using the mines to separate someone like Ultraviolet, who's farther deep than anyone else, wins that 1v1, which shouldn't have happened. And Soldier, the better Soldier, as Second Wind, now with a little bit of time spent, we'll be able to push that cart.
Yeah, and this is where I say, who wins that duel? I mean, like, who can beat Bat in this meta right now? He's one of the hardest characters to take down in this meta, especially when he has Immortality Field available. So Ultraviolet can take those all day long. Now you can see this high ground. Looks like Old Man Strength working their way back around the back side, trying to get an advantage here.
Oh, Kaden is sneaking up, and the direct rocket is enough to take down Cedro. You have no supercharger. Old Man Strength, this whole high ground positioning will now dwindle away as Kaden doesn't even have to rain a barrage on them. Second Wind, oh, nice dodge on that Dragon Strike, happily pushing this cart as Hazard is caught completely by himself. Old Man Strength trying to come out of castle. It will be the Arist of Cedro. See if he can stall the cart one last time. Gravitic Flux from Higon tosses. The defense is up, but it's the nano barrage of Chinese food with 3. What a save!
And on top of that, Chinese food saying, oh, it's fine that you want to take everybody up into the air because normally I'm the only one up here. So I'm totally okay with having a couple other bodies for people to look at while I go ahead and kill your entire team. So Chinese food coming up big for them and also pulling out Higon's major cooldown of Grav Flux as well. So now you could see Old Man Strength actually holding things out. This is, again, a very tough position to attack to, knowing full well that you have to break through a choke point where Yeedle's gonna have those mines available and he can clear the point pretty effectively.
One extra arrow also could have been the end of Dalton as they go towards that right. And do you really want to, if Yeedle was just on the other side, this could have been huge environmental kills. I still saw someone get sent, and oh, the mine's right on top of them. And a far rocket doesn't even phase him. Well, until now. Kaden did a good job there. It looked like he was about to get out, though.
Yeah, he'll take a death when if he can trade, 2 for his life or something. You're talking about Doomfist levels of viability at that stage. You know what I mean? Where you just dive in, take 2, give your life up. You have respawn advantage, so you take those all day. You take those all day long. Yeah, so he's okay with that. He's comfortable with it. They have high ground control on top of that. So this is favorable all day long if Yeedle can make those plays. However, now Dragon Strike available for Hazard. Going to use that likely to lock down one of these entry points here for Second Wind as they push through so that they're forced back or they force the Immortality Field out early. Then you can see Old Man Strength pressing forward. Oh,
this is a bit of a question mark. You hate to see it. And Second Wind swapping to the Roadhog. The hold the hook setup is a bit of a question mark as Chinese food's up into the air. Hazard's going to be too far away for you to set that up. Higon kind of went on his own adventure, and then you saw Shredlock die early in that fight. But what makes up for it is Kaden pressuring Old Man Strength so much. He's gotten 2, Dalton with the 3rd. So besides the tank line now catching up, Second Wind about to let it rain again. A barrage into the left doorway. Finish off is by Cedro. Dragon Strikes exchange, and Second Wind inches away from getting that point B. Resurrect's coming in. It's overtime. Second Wind, can they keep up?
Looks like Second Wind can finish the job here. Chinese food's coming back in, but he's not going to be enough. It's just going to be desperation from the supports now, Lemon, where they're just going to try to extend this. But it's already overtime. So what they're effectively doing is just allowing their tanks to get into position while they get their respawns up. You're going to see Yeedle swapping as we are getting out of this second phase of the map. We talked about this as well before, where Yeedle, once we get into this final stage, he wants to go over to the Sigma. This isn't necessarily an issue for them. Obviously, Veg is probably the better Sigma on this roster. That's why he does typically play it. But Yeedle is not a bad player on this at all. We've seen him on this quite a bit, actually.
Now the shield's starting to break from Old Man Strength, but they have the supercharger for Second Wind. Use the immortality just in case. Rounding the corner. Fortunately, Hazard away from the rest of the team. We'll be back in a second. Second Wind getting some good time here. Amp Matrix shredding through Old Man Strength's defenses. Not a ton of picks here for Second Wind, but the space created is so big. 40 seconds left. Old Man Strength will be ready to unleash. We have a Dragon Strike coming online. Amp Matrix to hopefully get a pick. As 30 seconds remain, Old Man Strength, they're waiting.
Yeah, 30 seconds left. The winner of this fight is probably going to be the winner
There
of
it
this entire
is!
series.
The 3K
Hazard
Dragon
coming up
Strike!
big.
It's huge! Oh, it was just a matter of time to line the pins up, to score it. Old Man Strength waiting until it was almost impossible for Second Wind to get back on this cart. A minute and a half to the 30-second mark. A Second Wind, they're racing back. Rolf is on the Lucio, sniped by Hazard. A few seconds remain. Old Man Strength turn things around from Rialto. Now on Eichenwalde, full held to now winning this map. But Second Wind starting to actually come back. Someone was able to touch, and now Chinese Food with a Blizzard. He can't go down here. An Immortality Field saves him. The Blizzard goes off, and Second Wind are out of ultimates. A Blizzard will be online shortly. Caden can't die here. And he dies!
Caden. Oh, the Blizzard is out of the equation. Old Man Strength, they have the respawn advantage. I think they're going to be able to come out ahead here, Lemon.
Old Man Strength on the defense, just playing so safe. They know they've won this fight as soon as they took care of Caden. He will be back shortly. Second Wind still stalling this card. It's in overtime. He can't get up, but Hazard is popping off, mimicking what Dalton did to him in the last map. Old Man Strength, it got so close. He is not missing. I'm going to need to see that in 0.25. OMS will take this map.
Oh no, not like this. Caden goes down at 97% and frozen. I mean, you talk about those, those split-second decisions, those tiny, minute changes that get made and everything looks different. That is literally a perfect example right there where Old Man Strength comes out ahead with such a massive play, starting off from Hazard, extending that into the final fight as well, and finding that kill onto Caden, which was so pivotal for them to have the success there.
I thought it was even done earlier. Somehow Second Wind were able to stall it, and Caden coming back with Blizzard. That could have been so big. The 2% just yeeting it before he died is crazy. And even Old Man Strength almost lost their Blizzard earlier on. That came down to just these micro plays and a little bit of luck sprinkled on top.
Yeah, and you also see a lot of adaptations being made by Second Wind as well. I kind of liked the hog pick that we saw going through that final point on second where they wound up swapping it, but they really need to pick at that point. There's nothing really to block any of that Roadhog damage. There's no Sigma there to have that second shield or to block some of that pressure. So really, I think at that point, they're just looking to try to shut down Yeatle, create an opportunity, 6v5, and then they can press forward. And it worked out for them in their favor. Heck, if you get whole hog as well, you can push into third point with that as well, break down that shield easy. It's only 600 HP for Orisa now, and you can actually create some momentum going forward. Unfortunately for them, they weren't able to do that.
And this was in fact a best of 3, and that means Old Man Strength knocked out Second Wind out of the tournament, which is crazy to say.
Yeah, I mean, Second Wind was a team that we were all kind of looking at a little bit going into this, and we all sort of anticipated that they would go pretty far. But this really again speaks to the strength, really, of Old Man Strength. And we've been talking about it, all weekend long. We've been talking about it through Breaking Barriers #1 and, even through prior tournaments since practice season, where we did see Old Man Strength really kind of rear up and show off what they're capable of, that this is a team that people need to start taking notice of, because this is definitely a roster that you're going to be seeing going forward into 2020, because they've made adjustments now to the roster. They're looking just as strong as ever, despite those changes being made. And I would not be surprised if we're looking into the 2020 competitive season. You're looking at, trials and contenders going forward. Old Man Strength being in contenders tournaments season 1 2020 should not be a surprise to anybody if it does happen.
So crazy. And we kind of were talking before the series started of really who we would bank on, where are we putting our stocks of who would have won this series. And you look kind of on paper of Second Wind stacked roster of contenders experience, you have World Cup experience, and then Old Man Strength, who maybe don't have the contenders experience, but the accolades of the recent tournaments that they've been able to win. A lot of people in this community looking at Old Man Strength to be a standout team in 2020.